welcome to SteamPunk. This is your host, SteamPunk Bob, and today we play another action game sequel that I didn't play the first game. Because that worked out real well last time. Anyway, Shank 2. Shank 2 is similar to Beautiful Joe, God Hand, Devil May Cry, that kind of thing. It's really hard, you look pretty great while getting your ass handed to you, and you look absolutely badass when you're doing well. As I said, I've not played the original Shank, though this outing provides a rather self-contained story. There's a whole mess of unlockable skins who I assume were characters from Shank 1, given they don't seem to be anywhere else in this game, but the story is self-contained and doesn't require previous knowledge. I mean, look at how the game starts. We start with a cranky but tough looking guy drinking on a bus. Bad guys hold up the bus and start herding people off of it.
This is all I have.
Bad guys are rude to Shank. Murder begins. Maybe Shank was on his way from the last game, and it looks like he was coming to wherever the game takes place for family visitation purposes, but I don't know where anything is in this game. I figure Mexico or somewhere else in Latin America because this bar is simply labeled tequila. Shank 2, reduced to its barest elements, is a 2D beat-em-up. You go, in general, from left to right, sometimes climbing obstacles or jumping over pits, and then bad guys. You should murder them. And it's here in the murder that Shank 2 really shines. You always carry your pair of shanks, but you also get to pick a heavy weapon, like a pair of machetes or a chainsaw, a ranged weapon, my favorite of which is probably the shotgun, and a munition, which is some variety of grenade. You can switch these weapons, except the grenade, freely at any time. Guys far away? Alright, no shotgun, let's get out the dual pistols. Want more oomph from your heavy weapon? Hey, that's why we got a sledgehammer. The game is all about stylishly taking apart every enemy with everything in your arsenal. Air juggling, pouncing on people, grappling, switching between weapons, counterattacks, dodge rolls. In fact, I think we need an ass-kicking montage here. See, the game is all about getting into a flow and just killing. It's not like Shank 2 has a deep story. It has an adequate story. Part of the problem is that nobody expects a beat-em-up game to have a good story, so I'll admit my standards were lowered. On the other hand, I always have context for why I'm killing these people. Each level has a unique look, but then you look at level 6, Human Cargo, and you play an entire level as Shank's childhood friend Karina, who has her own weapons, her own counter animation. It's wonderful how much extra effort was put into this lady who's only used for one level of the story mode. There's a multiplayer component to the game. It's a co-op survival mode. You have to protect caches of supplies from damned demolition midgets. Here, you have two major builds, as in do you want Shank's weapons or Karina's weapons, and the skins I mentioned earlier all have different multiplayer stats, like damage from certain kinds of attacks or how fast they disarm the bombs. As is par for the course, I haven't done much with the multiplayer. It seems to be adequately executed, but I simply haven't spent much time on it. There's also a measure of multiplayer in the leaderboards. I will give them credit here. These leaderboards are very good at comparison. You go in the exact same level, in the exact same difficulty, facing the exact same challenges with the exact same scoring system. The only advantage someone could have on the leaderboards, aside from a more in-depth knowledge of the combat mechanics or the scoring system, is that if someone who hadn't finished the story yet tried to run for the leaderboards, they wouldn't have all of Shank's weapons unlocked. But they probably should finish the campaign anyway to get more practice. And I didn't use the sledgehammer, the final weapon you unlock, all that much. Shank 2 suffers the number one problem of beat-em-ups. It can feel repetitive. There's a decent variety of enemies with multiple weapons, but, it's a beat-em-up. You have some environmental differences, traps, guys on ledges above you with guns, but in the end, a lot of fights feel kind of similar. There's also sometimes problems with getting beaten with no chance for reprisal, because if enemies time their attacks to when you're just standing up, it can hit you before your dodge roll's allowed. Still, Clay did a pretty good job making you look like a badass, even if beat-em-ups do have a general problem with repetition. It's a well-executed beat-em-up and has a story more complex than, say, Streets of Rage, but it's a beat-em-up. For the most part, you'll go to the right and use roughly the same strategies on everybody you see. The game feels punishing at times, but damn, I look great. I like it. Anyway, this is SteamPunk Bob, out.